TownHall Heroes.
Happy birthday,
Hello everyone and welcome to TownHall Heroes, episode number 167. Where is that music coming from? Oh, it's from Heroes of the Storm. I was so confused. This week, we've got a couple guests with us. You guys demanded more HGC guests. We're on it. 2018 has begun. Our first show of the year. We've got Dunk Train here. Bakery is unfortunately sick. And we've got Yitbaus from Team 12 and LFM's Drated. Now, both these guys used to be on teams called Imported Support and Roll20. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Don't you worry. There's a lot to talk about since we've had a bit of a hiatus. And we had TownHall Adventures where we played D&D last week. Was a lot of fun. We're back on track talking about MechaStorm. We're going to have some discussions with Yitbaus and Drated on their personal situation with HGC and what's coming forward for them. We've got Blaze. We're going to talk about where he kind of fits in now that he's been out for a few weeks. We've got Malfurion and Tyrael both receiving reworks. We haven't talked about Malf yet. My initial impressions, let's tell you right now, spoilers, I hated him, but I'm coming along. HGC 2018 announcement came out confirming the casters for the season and some details on Open Division. And of course, if we have time, we'll get to some viewer questions. But Dunk, what's new, my man?
Hey, I mean, you mentioned it all. Malf, Tyrael reworks. D&D was fun. Not much new over here other than the gameplay stuff for me. I'm just kind of chilling, doing the stream stuff. Did a community stream you guys might have caught for Blaze where we ate some hot peppers with one of the devs. If you missed that, it was good fun. And we got to talk a little bit about... It was spicy. It was lit, maybe even. But anyway, we talked a little bit about the game design of Blaze. Also, if you're interested in that, perhaps you want to check out the VOD, but not much, man.
That was cool. Yeah, I mean, it must be nice living in Vegas, having that quick flight over to Blizz HQ, just hang out with the devs, talk about the new hero. I'm sure you know all the secrets for 2018 now, just the Dunk Train life. Yitbaus, welcome to the show, my friend. Now, you're the manager of Team 12. What does that mean?
It means that I'm the one that keeps things moving. Make sure things are running smoothly most of the time.
And, you know,
So
I asked Kala the exact question as a coach. How does one get involved in that in esports? Do you have an esports background? Is this your first endeavor? What's the story behind there?
So I got into Heroes during Alpha, end of Alpha, and played a bunch with basically everybody. Became friends with Buds and Justin through Hero League, and then kind of just became good friends with them. And then through time, they started getting really good, and I was just, you know, filthy casual. And they needed someone that could, you know, come to lands and do the water boy stuff. So I kind of fell into that role. So
that's awesome.
Not too bad. I mean, I've gotten to travel with them quite a bit, and that's been like my payment over the years. So I'm not too sad about it.
It's a pretty sweet deal getting to be in that esports realm, you know, in any capacity. I think we all love it for a reason. We also have Drated here from LFM. Now, LFM, you guys used to be imported. LFM's a brand that's hopped around a little bit in the open division scene. If you guys haven't followed them, you guys have been at that threshold of almost making it to HGC, but here you are, finally making it to the Pro League, and welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. You know, we've, as you said, we have been on the cusp for a while, maybe the undisputed 9th best team in NA, but with LagF gone, you know, we finally got to creep our way in there, you know, even in death style.
Oof.
I mean, whatever works, whatever works. So let's just open up and talk a little bit about that. When you got that call from Papa Blizzard to say, hey, by the way, if you want to be a pro gamer, we'll officially recognize you as a pro gamer. I mean, were you expecting it? Did you say Lagif is definitely going to explode, or was it a surprise?
There were definitely rumors in the offseason after the Crucible ended that there could be a team that's going to disband, and we kind of assumed it would be Lagif. So there were obviously rumors, but I wasn't going to remain hopeful. You know, I definitely wanted to remain skeptical. It's not something you want to hope, you know what I mean? But when I finally got that call, it was like a life-changing opportunity, honestly.
I mean, the team had to play against Lagif or Naventic in both of the Crucibles, right? So twice you got gate kept by them. Did it feel good to take their spot?
Yeah, it did. It did feel pretty good. You know, it's definitely something I've been dreaming of for a long time, being that pro gamer status, and finally making it just makes all of us even more motivated and just willing to bring what we have to the table.
Now, the hot question, even in death, they got their free ride in, and they just got booty butt cheeks raffle stomped pretty much all season, right? It wasn't good. It wasn't pretty. Is LFM going to surpass that? Are you guys going to keep the tradition? What do you guys think your power level is compared to the rest of the teams in HGC?
So I think a reason why even in death was kind of what was a bit of a dispute in coming to the HGC is we had two other good teams at the time. We had Imported Support and LFM at the time, and then even in death kind of made it in. And so, you know, there was controversy about whether they were really, you know, the eighth best team in NA at the time. But
Fair
I think
point.
we definitely showed in the Crucible that we have a lot of potential, and given time and effort, that we can definitely improve over time. During the open division, we really only scrimmed a block or two a week, and you know, these pro teams are scrimming around 6 hours a day. We've definitely upped our practice time, and we have a new coach now, and you know, our scrim results are starting to show, and so I feel pretty confident going into our match this Friday.
Okay.
Damn, chat is spicy. They say, how do you guys feel about the even in death talent being removed from the game?
It only makes sense. You can't have any remnants of even in death in the league.
I think we can hear Bakery in the background of someone's mic. He's just casually dying from an illness, but you know, it's all good. Everyone send your wishes to Bakery. Hope he feels better. Beyond that, man, I mean, I think 2018 is going to be a big step forward. I'm curious what your personal situation is. Are you a student? Like, you know, being a pro gamer, obviously, you know, you're saying a 6-hour commitment from a lot of these teams per day. That's a huge commitment. Does the team, what's the majority of the team students? Do they have full-time jobs, part-time? Like, what's the status?
So I am a student at LSU. Swabs is a student in high school still. Forrest and Specialty are also students in Canada.
Ones.
And Idio Ware is actually a nuclear medicine. He does something like that. So he has a full-time job as well. So we're all definitely busy. We don't have, you know, a lot of the resources to commit to maybe scrimming 6 hours a day, but we're definitely doing our best.
Nuclear medicine, is that like he just mains Mecha Rhaegar IRL? Like, what does that mean?
I don't know. He does something in the surgery center, maybe something with anesthetics. I'm a little hazy on exactly what he does.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, naturally, we're going to talk more about HGC a little bit later, and there's a lot to talk about tonight. But, you know, yeah, boss, let's get right to it. We know that Roll20, new brand that came into Heroes of the Storm this past year, probably the most swag from the fans at BlizzCon. The banner has been hung up, and you guys now have the cutest little kitty for Team 12 TT. The TTIs, I love it. How do we get here?
So, with the organization changes and requirements that they've put in place for this season, we have an extremely unique opportunity to, I guess, feel out the landscape and kind of either develop our own brand or wait for an organization who is looking to invest and build something in the hero space. So that's kind of where we're at. We're trying to feel out and see what organizations are serious about coming into the scene, and if there's not any at this time, then we'll wait and figure out from there. I mean, the guys are, you know, stable in their own. You know, they're not too worried about needing a sponsor to take over ownership currently. So if we have to hold off, it's not too big of a deal. We'd rather wait for a perfect sponsor than jump on something without knowing all the details.
So plain and simple, Roll20, although you guys probably got along just fine, it's not the prestigious, like, C9 level sponsorship that the team wants.
Well, I don't think that that's even, I just think that we weren't ready to make a deal as fast as we would have needed to, right? So when the rules came out, we were at our boot camp, or, you know, a week before, 2 weeks before BlizzCon. So it was either speed through a contract, not knowing all the information, or hold off until after BlizzCon. After BlizzCon, we had 1 week until Gold Club, and then Gold Club, 2 weeks later, we had holidays, right? So holidays came and then went, and now we're here, right?
Yeah.
The season started, so we didn't really have time to sit down and discuss, you know, a perfect plan that's going to make sense and have it vetted by lawyers and all that stuff. So there's just so much to think about when there's ownership involved and money and potential equity and all that kind of stuff.
You know, being the manager, can you clarify exactly how the team ownership works? Because I think, if I understand it correctly, it was something along the lines of, if the team was not a sponsor before they earned their spot to HGC, the players owned it. So in this case, the team that was owned by the players. But in a different case, if there's an organization, XSplit loves the crash when I do TownHall, even though I use it on my normal stream nowadays, that's fine. What we were talking about is I just asked Yitbaus basically about how team ownership works in HGC, and bring it to me. How does it work?
All right, so the way that it's working is there's grandfathered teams like GFE, Tempostorm, Fnatic, Dignitas, these teams that have been in since before the season started. And then there's teams like Expert and Roll20 and I guess these smaller teams, trying to think of who else. Any team that wasn't in at the beginning of the season before the season started. Freedom was kind of a last minute ad. They were at the end of 2016, right before 2017 started, so they were able to get grandfathered in. So when the ownership rules came out, initially they said that if you had a sponsor, or if you wanted a named sponsor, you had to provide them ownership of the team. But that has since changed, and now you can have a named sponsor and still keep ownership in either an LLC or one of the players can have ownership. Yeah, so that's beneficial. So if Old Gods or we wanted sponsors but didn't want to go through the hassle of a major buyout per se, then we could have a named sponsor and just have a traditional you know, salary or whatever you want to call it, instead of having a buyout.
Okay, so that makes sense. Well, thank you for clarifying that. I mean, obviously, Team 12 as a new brand has to be exciting at the same time, though, right? This is something that you guys got to come up with the name for, come up with a logo for, I assume?
Well, we actually had a way more intricate logo at first, but it wasn't allowed because it was too detailed. It was actually like a little crying anime girl. I'll see if I can find it and give it to you.
Oh, I want to see this because I'm going to put it on my stream every day.
Yeah, it was actually really, really funny, but apparently it was too offensive, so we couldn't use it.
I mean, Blizzard is the Disney of esports, right? So
yeah.
They're going to be very safe about everything. Can't. I cannot. I hope you have this because
I'm gonna find it right now.
it's gonna crash the stream. It's gonna be that good though. It's worth it, guys.
Yeah, if you have me on Discord, it's my my icon.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I do, but
Okay, give me a second. It may...
well,
Go on. I'll find it in a second too.
he's gonna hunt for that. And it'll be good and grand. Again, apologies for the explosion of the stream. We'll make sure we edit that all down for everybody watching at home. So if you're confused as to why we repeated ourselves in the VOD, that's why. So I think this is a good time while he's hunting for that to talk about the state of NA. And, you know, this is something we've talked about in previous shows. You know, Duncan and I and Bakery have grilled everyone to talk about what NA has to do to evolve past where they are, right? Globals, North America, Roll20 is the only team that actually looked like, I mean, BlizzCon was okay, I think, for North America. It wasn't the worst showing by any means. But it's still, what I can't say the year as a whole was a huge improvement to the year prior, right? North America has been behind. And, you know, you're talking about practicing 6 hours a day. Oh my God, this logo. Hold on, we're getting there. This is for science, guys. Is there any one thing that you can pick out, Drated, that you think NA could do to better the region? Like, for example, when you're in Open Division, how hard was it to get a scrim block with an HGC Pro League team as a notable team in Open Division?
It's definitely harder. You know, I mean, HGC teams, they're going to want the best practice possible. Oh, that's great. Sorry, this logo. But I think the Open Division is a very good start to how you improve to get those players that, you know, have been in the open scene for a long time. And the open scene is a really good entryway to the HGC. I mean, we saw Lutano is a really good example, who was on Even in Death, and now he's on Team Freedom, arguably one of the top 2-3 teams in NA. But if there was one thing that I could pick out that would really improve NA, I think it's tank play, personally. I think looking at EU in particular, I think Breeze is a really good example of just a very, very good tank player. He understands the ins and outs of tanks like no one in NA, honestly. And the only person I think that comes close is Justin, which is why he's on this #1 team in NA, because the synergy between him and the team is just on another level than I've seen against other tanks in NA. So I think if there's one thing to improve, it's tank play overall.
Yitbaus?
Interesting.
I think that probably the #1 thing would just be maturity.
Maturity, okay.
Yeah, because when going to any of the international events, the European players, and even if they're younger players, they're just far more respectful and mature than any North American 18-year-old kid that I've met, right? The entire team of Fnatic is, 19, 20, 21, and for the most part, they're more mature than any 19, 20, 21-year-old American kid. Yeah, because that's the way they're brought up. You know, they're brought up to show respect at a very young age, and that carries over into their gaming and into their teammates and all this stuff.
You can say the same about Bakery for sure. He's not here, but like when Bakery told me he was like 19 or 20, I forget how old he is exactly, I was just like, oh my God, there's no way someone as intelligent and mature as you is that young. And it made me feel like a dingus because I'm just a wacky American. But no, I mean, it's interesting. You think that comes down to everything from, do you think that affects more than just comms, like when it comes to travel as a team?
Of course. I think that a lot of it, giving criticism properly, communication, all of these things that you learn go back to being respectful when speaking. And then when traveling, it's, you know, knowing customs and courtesies and knowing your boundaries when you speak and not being, you know, overly loud in places where you probably shouldn't be. things that we don't like. We don't really know boundaries when it comes to that kind of stuff. We're not really taught that at a young age in the United States.
Yeah, good points. Dunkus, what is your one thing for NA?
I actually kind of like the maturity thing as a concept, not because I'm super worried about, like traveling or how people behave in lands and stuff, but I definitely echo the sentiment of like the maturity of the players has a lot to do with how they communicate in a team environment. And from my experience coaching Dig compared to time on NA teams and interacting with them, I think my experience has indicated that the European teams in general and Dig specifically at that time period did have a healthier way to get criticism across and successfully like actually incorporate adjustments to their play after a quick criticism session. Like definitely replay reviews and stuff felt very, very functional and useful there. So maturity definitely, I think, has a lot to do with why the NA teams struggle to grow from season to season and year to year.
Here's the question after that. How do we fix that? I mean, how do we, outside of as a culture in general that might be a little bit more in your face, bring in, like, I guess, damn, Yitbaus's keyboard is louder than the hammer of Zeus, like it's just smashing into the ground. No, it's all good, dude. But it's I don't know what the Twitch chat is slaying me right now. Is there a way? So okay, let's compare Heroes to Owl, and this is something we're gonna do very loosely because Overwatch World League, if you did not know, is a pretty big deal in terms of what it takes to execute. We're talking multi-million-dollar buy-ins to even be part of the league. Organizations like the New England Patriots, the New York Yankees, you name it, buying teams and owning teams. Lots of money. When you have all that kind of money, your management is going to be a lot more than Yitbaus, right? It's not just Yitbaus saying, "Hey kids, get in your scrims, play your games, kids." It's got a whole structure. It's much more like sports. They probably have personal trainers that literally make them like exercise. Like every team's going to have their own contract and situation for sure. In that kind of environment, it's more of a real job because you're living in an atmosphere where you're showing up in person with your teammates and interacting in that environment. B, you have more than just one superior you have to respond to. You have this whole like chain of command essentially. And C, it's just kind of like, you know that it's got a higher prestige in that regard, right? There's a ton of money at stakes, your salary is higher, everything. With Heroes, logistically, that just does not make sense. The viewership isn't there. We're too many years into the scene. People always ask, why won't Heroes make everyone relocate to the HGC studio, blah, 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 blah. Conceptually, that's great, but the cost is gigantic. Is there a solution that you can think of where we could kind of bring the respect to the managers in a greater level? Because I mean, I don't know if I should flame Zoya right now. Maybe our initial managers didn't set the precedent. I don't know. But I don't know what it takes to try to get everyone to be a little bit more professional, I guess. And I'm not saying everybody's a goober, right? It's just as a whole.
I think that it comes down to players wanting to... I don't know how to frame this. Players wanting to be professional because there's something on the line. I don't think that people are punished enough right now. There's not enough discipline. If you're being toxic or you're ranting on Twitter or whatever it may be, you're not being punished, right? And in any other league, if you were to go off on somebody, you'd get fined, And that kind of stuff is really what prevents the league from being elevated.
We did have the Mopsio situation last year, but that was kind of extreme, and it took a long time for anything to happen. But that's like the only situation where we had a player get punished.
I think that also, like, there's a huge divide between the casual and the professional scene, and the professional players that do get upset aren't really taking this into account. They don't understand that there is a huge difference, and that kind of makes the divide even bigger when these Reddit threads become a thing. And then it just shows their lack of understanding of how much better they are than the average player.
Yeah.
I mean, it's challenging. It's very challenging.
I also don't really think I mean, finds and stuff are cute, but I don't think they would really even change the pro players behavior that much. They just externally be less visibly toxic or tweet about it or whatever, but I don't think that's where the real motivation has to come from to get people to play. Right. Not play, but specifically think about it. Even if you all of a sudden, and some of the teams I feel are kind of doing this where they're trying to take it way more seriously, they're trying to have a lot more professionalism about it. The return on investment in that is it's going to take a year to get better, right?
Yeah. As
a 5-man, even if you're doing that, and there's just very little incentive to do that right now. It's, I don't know.
You're going to harm the competitiveness if you really start kicking people out, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So Drated, obviously you said you're a college student, you've got a high school player on your team, you've got other students, and then you've got a nuclear bioengineer or something. That's a pretty good mix of players, North American, Canadian, and American. And when you play with your team, obviously it's serious. Obviously you're playing to win. How different is it from just grinding games with your friends?
I think it's completely different. The motivation to improve right now is greater than ever before, especially because I personally don't want to be seen as, the next even in death. Even if LFM, let's say we end up getting 7th and 8th for this season, as a player, I don't want to be relegated, and I want to continue to improve in the HGC. So right now, I'm taking every scrim, every game extremely seriously. I want to improve as a player, I want to improve as a team, and I want to show that, there's more blood in NA to be found. So, when you're playing casual with your friends, I think it's completely different. We're analyzing every rotation, every single team fight. We have VOD review and whatnot, and I think something NA could do more is just have very established coaches. There aren't many in NA right now. The only really 2 that come to mind was Aether, that coached Team Freedom, who's now no longer a coach, and then Kala, who's the coach of MechaStorm and has been around in the scene for a while. And, if you look at some of these top League of Legends teams, some of these OWL teams, you're going to have 1, 2, maybe 3 coaches per team. It's that serious. And so that's something I think NA could improve on as well.
It's a really good point. I mean, frankly, when you look at it that way, what brings everything together after scrims? A coach that's going to pick you apart, point out things, and then set markers to improve on. And as a player, it's really hard in a lot of times to identify what your exact weakness might be, because you're in that first person, you're in the moment, you're playing it. Somebody that has a second set of eyes and a different point of view than you can oftentimes see something you can't see. And I'm actually curious. I don't know if every team has a dedicated, seasoned or experienced coach. And like you mentioned, yeah, Kala stands out, right? He's probably one of the few. But that seems, it's almost begs you to wonder if the salaries should include a salary for a coach in HGC because of how impactful that could be. Yitbaus, you're making the evil doctor face.
No.
No? Okay. All right. He's just going to shrug it off.
No. Yeah, coaches are great. I think you guys just got a really good
I'm sensing something over here.
Dude.
Hero Physio, he's a cool dude.
Yep.
And then GFE picked up Cavalier. Who else is... I think Space Station...
Huge coaches, yeah, Space Station.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Old Gods has barcode number 1. We started working with an analyst coach. I'm not going to reveal anything yet until
Super secrets. It's Dunk Train
Here's
confirmed.
has Coffin.
Ah, that's right. That's really cool.
Coffin,
Luck.
that's a big one.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
So
Yeah,
I think we're starting to move in the right direction, you know, but maybe it's a little late because I'm sure a lot of these teams have had established coaches for a while, and I don't know, maybe some of these coaches, maybe they're not getting paid a lot. I mean, I'm sure some of these lesser coaches aren't getting paid, you know, enough to of course make it like a full-time job or anything like that. So I think
Right.
I agree with your distinction of maybe there needs to be a contract clause for the HGC for a coach, you know, to make it a real full-time job.
Well, and it's strange because on the forms that you submit for your team, there's a line for coach, manager, captain, owner, right? So obviously that they want that to be a thing. It's just there's no infrastructure for it, and they're not adding funds to do it. So
Right.
their whole want for teams to be sponsored and want this coach to be a thing, it's moving in the right direction. It's just not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough because like let's kind of review 2017 and like what they've done to bring sponsors into the game. Basically, they have the program with Twitch and cheering where you cheer for the team you want, then on Twitch, and then you unlock stuff in the game. And that's, again, an external source that gives you stuff within the client, which is still nice, right? You're still going to get your brand notoriety in the game in the form of sprays and banners, which is what sponsors want at the end of the day. Sponsors want exposure, and sponsors would like, if possible, some form of revenue stream, right? You look at Owl and just, or even just normal sports, and the revenue stream is basically through shirt sales. But with esports, there's a lot of just digital sales, right? Digital sales are an amazingly accessible way for your fans to show off what they like, and then of course make money off in the process. But Heroes of the Storm still does not have any esports in it whatsoever. And I was going to talk about this later in the show because now that Owl has shown their hand with what they're doing for that game, we have to be critical. We have to look at it and say, okay, our game has been doing this longer. We've already had HGC going for a while. When are we getting the same kind of resources? And I'm currently trying to open Battle.net. My computer can't even do that right now. XSplit might crash. Oh, here we go. We made it. And this is what you see at Battle.net. Now, you all know, unless you don't play Heroes right now and you just listen to our show, there is an OWL tab at the top of Battle.net. Now, this OWL tab doesn't just exist when you're looking at Overwatch. It is part of Battle.net. It is an integral part. You click on it, you get a schedule, you get Chris Puckett's beautiful face looking at you and his voice just bellowing through your ears, into your ears. I can't speak today. That's cool. And in the game, you have the same kind of resource where there's an Overwatch League tab that has not only a schedule, but a skin for every team, for every single hero that you can then purchase, and we can hope that the teams profit off that. Now, I'm not saying Heroes needs that, but I'm saying it needs something, some kind of exposure to bring this kind of money in. Because clearly these coaches, someone asked in the chat, are they getting paid? I bet you some are, but there's no requirement. HGC, as far as I know, does not provide a salary for anything but the players. The team probably gets a cut if there's an organization, but I don't think there's any salary for the coach. And the way you fix that is through mainstay esports organizations like Dignitas, who I'm sure does pay their coach. You get them involved in the game. And North America is very lacking in the sponsors department. We've never had TSM, CLG, a lot of these mainstay brands that get involved with MOBA games on the phone. They get involved with, like Smite has more sponsors, and a lot of that's just from in-game revenue stream.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a reality of the size of the scene. Like, you're not going to attract the sponsors like huge esports, and that's part of what's holding back the logistics of having coaches.
Well, I mean, at least Dunk has just posted something in the chat. Dunk, what did you just post? Just speak your mind, man. Speak your mind. Tell us the deets. You got the intel. You don't just gotta sneakily give it to you to make me look smart.
Well, Twitch chat had mentioned that Calf just tweeted something, so I checked it out, and apparently they Old Gods Squad joined an organization called Simplicity, which I've never heard of before and doesn't seem to have anything else going on besides the Heroes team it just picked up and a kind of bare bones site.
All right. I
don't know.
I'm not trying to flame here. This is exciting. This is cool. This is really good for the players. They're getting a sponsorship. Awesome. I mean, that's good. But Zuna, he's made it to Worlds for League of Legends. He has the biggest following of any player in Heroes of the Storm as far as I know. They've got like BlizzCon champions on this team. Like, sure, they might not be #1 right now, but if their main sponsor and the best they can get is still a team we've never heard of, and I'm not flaming Simplicity. Welcome to Heroes. We're very happy to have you. We're talking the bigger picture here. We're talking how does Heroes draw those other big orgs back? And it's great to have new blood, but our track record with new blood is pretty 50-50. GFE,
yeah,
pretty dope. They're a great org. Tempostorm invested in Heroes early. They're a great organization. Naventic, they're kind of booty butt cheeks. They're gone. They're out. They didn't pay their players. Like, so it's hard for me to not look at this without some skepticism.
I mean, the owner owns a part of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Oh, okay.
He's got a lot of money.
It seems like
welcome,
a real
Simplicity.
He's got a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they won't die too fast.
The Memphis Grizzly owner, Jed Kaplan, invests 7-figure amount in esports, picks up the Heroes of the Storm team Old Gods.
My God. 7 figures for a Heroes team? PogChamp!
Well, he said invested that into esports,
Congrats,
so it doesn't
guys.
mean...
I know.
But, no, it's definitely good. This is good, but it's still a brand that then needs to build itself up, start fresh. There's no cross-promotion from other games, which is one of my favorite things about esports, is you can be a Team Liquid fan of Hungrybox, right? I love Hungrybox, Team Liquid. And then you tune into Heroes because you just started playing the game, and by default, you're just like, well, I like Hungrybox, so I like Team Liquid. And I think that's always been kind of a strength for esports in general. And I think we're super lucky to have dedicated organizations like Liquid who have picked up teams, then been burned by guys like Dunk Train who abandoned them for C9, and then picked up a new team after that, like, and stuck with it. I think we're really lucky to have those orgs, but obviously we'd like more of them. Anyways, I'm Jake ranting.
Hey, just saying, there's one North American team left without a sponsor.
LFM.
No, LFM has a sponsor.
I mean, that is the sponsor.
I know. I'm being a goober.
Well, you know, to piggyback on what you were saying about the orgs and getting money into Heroes, you know, one thing I think, you know, if you look at old League of Legends, let's say Season 2, Season 3, I'm sure a lot of esport fans can remember a lot of these players who made their name not just by playing the game, but by Riot and their orgs promoting these players. And I think Blizz just released a video about MVP Black and their struggles and their success recently. I think that is what Heroes needs more of. You need a brand, not just the organizations, but you need to brand these players to make them marketable in the eyes of these organizations. And I think the video is a really good start, and I think there needs to be more segments like that in the HGC to make these players more appealable to the average viewer.
So, I mean, Blizzard knows this. I can tell you that firsthand. They are well aware that that is a goal of theirs, and they always strive to do it in different ways. There's ways to do it in broadcast by including like the little lower third to put a name to the face, which I think is one way of helping. And, you know, in the past that we've actually sat down, I don't remember if this was during Heroes of the Dorm or what, but I don't know. This was probably during the Road to BlizzCon. But anyways, doing Skype interviews with a variety of players to get content pieces on people. Because, again, you have to look at LCS like OWL. They have all the players, on site in person. It's infinitely easier to grab a player that's living in LA and then drive to the beach and film an interview on the beach and then drive to the arcade and film some more and do it there. The cost is negligible compared to sending people all over the world, camera crews to get footage, and then maintaining consistency on top of that because you want a consistent product. It's really, really expensive and challenging to do that. And Skype quality simply isn't, I mean, our technology just is not there yet. Like, if we lived in a world that had like Skype booths with that 1080p 60 FPS quality that you could rent out and use, maybe there would be a way to get nicer remote interviews like that, right? But there just isn't a great option for that. But they are coming out with a new video on Friday, are they not? There's an episode called on Friday, A New Era Begins, for the full episode of Heroes Have Risen. And I don't know what this is actually called, but
see, you say this and it makes me a little sad that I haven't heard anything about it. They
tweeted this out like 2 days ago.
Why? Where's the? I agree. I think it should be on like the Battle.net client. I think it should be stickied on Reddit, something like that. I don't know. I think there's just like they do a lot in the OWL scene that I see that they should do, but I don't know.
I think tune in Friday to Twitch to see the full episode. Yeah, this must be an actual show about the players. I assume it's content that they filmed during the EU and NA summits, if I had to guess, which is still, it's good content. It'll give us an introduction to the teams, which is very important, especially with guys like you, Drated. But yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, right? The launcher, I assume there's some politics behind it. You look at this week, it's the week of MechaStorm, which we'll talk about in a second, being like, this big new content update for the game. Naturally, that has been their plan for the launcher. Sell, sell, sell. It's how the game makes money. They've put a ton of work. They've made this amazing animation with Mecha Rhaegar, and that's their focus. But we're now going to go into another Jake tangent.
Yeah, Jake tangent.
I'm going to keep it quick.
Let's hear it.
Do it.
Give us
cheers.
A goddamn news page in the client that's not just esports. And here's what drove me to this decision. There's a few different things that can happen. I've been playing Hero League a lot for the first time in my life. I've never grinded Hero League.
Bad time to start.
That's what everyone says. It's okay. I've got about 300 games this season, which is probably more than I've ever played combined in Hero League. No joke. I wanna not only get good at the game, but I want to relearn the game from every single role. Anyways, in my experience of Plat Diamond world, which is a dangerous world, the days after the patch, people don't know about a rework that happened because people don't read patch notes, right? And there's nothing in the client to ever teach you this. Battle.net is not good enough. Battle.net is never going to be the answer. It's just not good enough. But when I go in and some guy picks Malfurion and he's just like, wait, what the hell? Like, as soon as we load in, he's like, what's happening? And he has no idea how to play the game. And then we just get raffle stomped.
Dude,
it sucks for everyone.
Literally, that happened in GM like yesterday.
All the time.
Yeah, I had someone lock in Malf and he got in the game. He's like, whoa, the talent. He literally typed out, whoa, the talents are different.
Like,
it's like, hello?
And that's
you're in
just,
GM, you don't even read patch notes, you don't know what's going on.
There needs to be like an orange border in the hero select for like 1 week, or like 2 weeks or something that shows when you hover rework, or at the bare minimum. If we can't get that, we need a news section. Like you log into
just wild.
Yep.
Yeah, you log into like any other MOBA, and there's always like news and information and things you can click on and patch notes and all of that info. I mean, I just started playing this mobile MOBA where it's just like everything you could ever hope for in terms of just like recent news, upcoming stuff, events, like, and I'm at the point where we just having a quest tab in the corner as our social thing to look at when we log into the game is not enough. Like,
you know what they could do is they could give you gems for reading the patch notes.
That's a great idea.
Gems.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Reading. I mean, people would do it.
Even if you scroll to the bottom,
scroll to the bottom, you still
collect 100 gold. I don't care. It's something. It's a win.
Yeah, you know.
And if 10% of the players actually read it, then we're good. Like, but
hey man, get hero experience for watching HGC. Like, at the end of every game, they give an MVP to someone, and everyone who's watching HGC who saw that person play that hero, they get hero XP for that hero. Boom.
Oh, hell
Boom.
Yeah. You'd be level 1,000 quick.
No, it's a big thing that we need. We need a hub with information pertaining to that, pertaining to the HGC players, all these nice articles that go on the esports site. All of that information can go in the game. It's just going to get more people looking at it because, again, I've said this a million times on the show, as a casual Heroes player, there's no way for me to accidentally stumble into Heroes Esports in the client. It's impossible. I can see a Roll20 portrait and be like, huh. And that's that. I never think about it again in the loading screen or the banner or whatever. Like,
so what about quests where you have to play the reworked heroes in quick match? Like, hey, play Malfurion in quick match 3 times. He's been reworked. You get 100 gold. Like, instead of played specialists, you know, play the new heroes that we've changed and get gold.
Yeah, like a holiday quest type thing. I think that's a really cool, like a global, everyone gets this, play 2 games as the new Malfurion, give you a little bonus for trying them out. I think that's a great way to bring attention to. If that's the easy fix that they can implement, I think that's a start. But
Sophist, you in here? No. Yeah, he is. Sophist. Oh shit.
And it's just to hear that even at GM, you got people that just don't know, confirms that even further, right? So I don't know. That's a must have, especially I think it just hurts extra seeing Owl get all these resources. And yes, we know Owl is a much newer engine. We've got this ruddy, rebuilt StarCraft engine. And devs, engineers, your work's beautiful. But give us what Overwatch has, please. Please. But that's my rant with that. And you guys agree. Drated, what's your number 1 want?
Matchmaking to be placed like max Plat 1 or Plat 2, Diamond 5, not Master 1000. That was the worst change they could have possibly done. I mean, there's so many stories about, you know, these people that were Plat, Diamond last season that, you know, maybe had a good run in placements, 9-1 or something, they get Master 1000. It's just, there's so many games now that just, you just have people that just aren't at the same level. And, you know, good players, if you get placed into these low elos, they will find ways to climb up, and that's what I really want. I want reverted back to at least min D3, like even Diamond 5. Like that's what I want.
I think a lot of people would agree.
I agree. Max Plat 5.
Ooh, that's a bit of a climb.
Yeah, but it'll be worth it when you're
I agree.
in good games at the end. Like, even if you're like, I'm like Master 1200 or something like that, and constantly play with really good players and really awful players. And I'm not the best player. I'm like a Zag main, so like I'm super toxic.
But classic. But better than a Hammer main, but
but like. You find people that are just like, no, I'm playing this hero every single game, regardless of the count.
Oh yeah. Which,
it's wild.
I wish that was like a report option, like refused to reciprocate in draft, like or something. Because I would report every single game. The report list would just get. But yeah. Well.
Also, back to Q. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that a 4 vote across the board for duo queue?
I think Team League is actually pretty fun if you've played it on the higher end. It's actually challenging because people will see, like, I'll play with Justin and Buds and Dansky and whoever wants to play after scrims, and people will actually try really, really hard, and we'll have some really close games. We'll actually lose, every other game we'll lose just because we're trying to have fun, and then we'll have to try at the end to try to pull it out, and it's way more challenging than Hero League a lot of the time.
I believe
so
it.
If you guys want to play some good Team League, queue up after 9 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, at night, me and my friends play some Team League as well, usually, but I don't know. They're like number 1, 2, 3 in Team League, and our queues are like 30 minutes long. It's gets pretty rough sometimes, but I agree. The game quality sometimes is pretty good.
I mean, I just play Team League with subs, and I'm gold in Team League. It's pretty epic. But we're bronze and masters players on my team, so it's been an interesting experience to say the least. But it's fun. I'm glad to hear Team League is at least it's pretty good at night. That's cool to hear. So I guess the next thing that we can talk about here is just MechaStorm. Probably one of the coolest content updates we've ever had. We now have a Heroes anime. Hell yeah. And if you haven't seen the video, we're not going to listen to it with audio. You definitely have to check it out. It's one of the cooler things they've put out for a promotional thing in Heroes of the Storm to date. You've got Mecha Rhaegar fighting Zeno Abathur? Is it Xenotech? I think it's Xenotech Abathur.
Xenotech Abathur.
Xenotech Abathur. With Tyrael on his team. I was a little surprised we didn't get to see like Tassadar involved or Dahaka involved, but still, they showed off all the new content, and yes, content is skins. It still counts as content. Tyrael got a rework, count it, and it's actually everything I ever hoped for, and I want more.
Yeah, this anime was sick.
Pretty good.
I thought the Kel'Thuzad cartoon was like awesome, but this even just like blows that out of the water. This is so cool. The scene where he bloodlusts and like the mech's armor pumps up, like the scene where his armor's pumping up, you're like, holy shit, DBZ! Like, oh man, it's so cool.
It really was about as cool as it gets. What do you guys think about the skins in game?
Mecha Rhaegar is so
sick. I like Mecha better.
I like Mecha Rhaegar. It's awesome, but it should definitely not be allowed in competitive. It's like I don't even know it's Rhaegar at that point.
Huh.
But they're really awesome. I think there's some really high quality skins. Not sure why Abathur. I think that's a little interesting of a choice. Like I don't know if it changes the skin that much, and not a lot of people play Abathur in general. So I thought it was a bit interesting that they chose Abathur. But
I was surprised too.
Like
I think it worked cool for the cinematic with like the clones and stuff, and the monstrosity. I think the thing that I noticed most about it is when it's being summoned. You get this big green like test tube that appears on the map, and it's like, oh crap, there's an Abathur clone coming, like run, like, or whatever, it just draws attention to it. But I mean it's neat, but it definitely isn't as cool as the other two. Like the MechaTerial, the voice lines. Oh.
Yeah. The back animation on MechaTerial is sick. His wings like shoot out, flip around, turn into thrusters, go on his back, and then when he Hearthstones, when he backs.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, okay. The mount too. They're all really cool.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good. So
I need more beer.
Well, frankly, I wanted to take a break an hour in anyways once we talked about MechaStorm. And obviously, it's a great content update. Check out the video if you haven't seen it. The new skins are great. We're going to go on a quick commercial break. When we return, we're going to go through the patch notes for Heroes for, the Malfurion rework, the Tyrael rework, and of course Blaze as the three main topics to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about how Drated and Yitbaus feel about the 2018 gameplay update, and then we're going to look at the HGC news. So we'll be back in just a few minutes, guys. Stay tuned. Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the show as we are going into the second half of episode 167. I don't know what you guys are secretly giggling about, but it's fine. What kind of brewski you having, Yitbaus?
This one's a Miller Lite, but I'm gonna switch back to this fireside chat winter spiced ale when I'm done.
Oh, so fancy.
After I had this one, this one does not taste as good.
We can imagine. We can imagine. Well, if you missed the first half of the show and you're just tuning in, we kind of went through and talked a bit about Team 12 with Yitbaus and LFM with Drated going into the 2018 HGC season. We looked at MechaStorm and we rambled about features that OWL has. I'm not allowed to say owl. Chat hates owls, apparently, even though they're beautiful creatures. Moving forward, we're talking about the patch notes that we had from this week and a few weeks ago, since it's been a few weeks since the show. Malfurion being the one notable thing prior. Blaze also entered the game. Tyrael rework, and then we'll talk a bit about HGC 2018 and the 2018 gameplay update. And if we have time for viewer questions, we'll get there. But start with Blaze. Blaze Areno. I totally have been changing the topics thing at the top, have I? The Blaze is obviously a new tank to enter the game, and Blizzard seems to have given him a kit that is designed to be fairly flexible. I think his kit is pretty well done in that regard. First question to Dunk Train. Is Blaze a solo main tank? Or can he be?
I think Blaze can function as a solo main tank, depending on who your auxiliary frontliner is in that situation. Almost always, like, solo tank full range is not good. It's basically never good. So, like, when people say solo tank, I feel like that's what they mean a lot of times, when in reality, most solo tank compositions are like a primary tank and then like a bruiser or something to hold another angle or pressure in team fights. So yes, I think he can fill the solo tank role, but you're not running solo tank Blaze and 4 range carries behind him, like hoping he can protect them or something, because that's not going to work.
Drated, have you felt about Blaze?
I don't think he's very good, personally. I think he's like a worse ETC. His charge feels to me like a worse power slide. It's predictable. It's got like a little bit of a wind-up time. You can cancel it. As a solo laner, I think he might have a little bit of potential, but I think he's still going to lose to, the top tier solo laners in the meta right now, like Malfurion, Sonya. Probably gets beat by Zag. So I don't know. I'd be kind of surprised if we saw a lot of Blaze this opening weekend in HGC. Or sorry, he's not even allowed. But next, yep. I don't know. I don't really see Blaze being a powerhouse pick right now.
Mate, let's go, boy.
What is the sorry, random Twitch stream decided to play on my stream.
This year's Skittle.
Jesus. Anyways, wow, it's taking me a bit to recover from this. Yeah, I'm okay. The patch you guys are playing on, which patch is it?
It's so
Blaze
there's
patch, no
Blaze, no Tyrael rework, basically.
Okay. So new Malfurion is in.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I think that's the right place to start it here. We're going to talk about Malf in a bit. So Blaze maybe can be a main tank, worse ETC. You said maybe you can solo lane, but probably going to lose these matchups. What could we do to make him viable in that regard? Because honestly, like you mentioned with his E, it's got wind up, but it's an AoE stun with a really nice level 16 talent and feels like a really good follow-up. Doesn't feel like a great initiation. Feels like almost like a good anti-dive, like you dive on me, I dive on you. Or a follow-up to like a Howling Blast. But for starting a fight, it's like, let me shoot up a signal flare and then I'll shoot you, right? No, you don't do that, It just kind of feels a little, I guess, just fat and slow and clunky. So his self-sustain is actually pretty damn good, but he needs to be standing in his flames. His clear is pretty damn good, but what is he missing if you had to say something? Like, what's the biggest desirable thing you could give him a little bit more of?
Probably threat to the back line. I think a lot of bruisers. He feels kind of to like a worse Arthas to me a little bit. Arthas can kind of like run in. He can also threaten your back line. I mean, he's got the attack speed slow. He's got a decent bit of damage too. But Blaze, you know, he's kind of got that. He's got his one initiation, and then he kind of just, you know, runs around. He might slow you a little bit, might do a little self-sustain, but I don't think he really threatens the back line enough. So maybe a little bit more damage might help him out a little bit.
How do you guys feel about the idea of Combustion having Unstoppable?
It's probably good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
I think he
big
gets
buff.
stuck otherwise.
Yeah.
Combustion just feels like it's nowhere near the level of Mosh Pit, and as soon as it starts, it just, if you get stunned, it feels terrible.
Yeah.
You know, you want to be
Get
able to walk
wasted.
around with that threat, and that for a heroic ability, I feel, I don't know, every single time I've cast it next to like Uther, it's just like, cool, like that was my heroic, great. Yeah. Like, it feels terrible, and I couldn't believe that he did not have Unstoppable with that. Granted, you could pick up the level 1 talent, get all your globes, pop your trait, then cast Combustion. But
yeah, I don't know. I really like his kit. I think it's cool the way it interacts. I just think he doesn't do enough.
Yep.
Which tells me that it could just be numbers like attack damage, burn damage, stuff like that, and he'd go to playable. Because I agree. I agree completely with you. I think he's just a worse Arthas right now.
I'm sure that someone will find a way to cheese with him, and once that happens, kind of like with the garage, once someone finds a way to exploit his one thing he does really, really, really well, he'll find his place.
I hope so. I think he's a pretty interesting hero conceptually. He feels really badass. You know, as a fire bat, they captured that fantasy really well. His voice lines are great. Like, you know, aesthetically, he's a god. Do you guys see any place for Bunker as a heroic?
I actually like Bunker. I think Bunker's better right now because it's very disruptive to the enemy team's focus fire. Okay, here's the big problem with Bunker. It's like Void Prison, where when you cast Bunker, a lot of the time your team is actually gonna be idiots and like go into the bunker and everyone's gonna stay there until it times out or gets blown up, or your team is not ever gonna click the bunker and you're not going to dodge the spells you specifically casted to dodge for them, or like just horrific things happen when you let your teammates try to make decisions beyond their own basic hero playing potential in non-competitive. So I think Bunker does have potential because it's insanely valuable if people actually know what's going on. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Just completely ruining the enemy team's focus. Like, the crazy thing about Bunker is it comes down half a second after you cast it. It's instant cast. So you can bait people into thinking they like hit you with the chain CC and then actually still block the chain CC. Because if you pop Bunker, right, and then you get stunned or you bait someone to put a silence on you or something, like the bunker still comes down, you go inside and you can hop back out, and you've just wasted like all their focus fire, all their follow-up for the next 1 or 2 seconds, and people are just not using it effectively in that specific avenue. People like, I can't tell you how many times my DPS get in and like shoot little fire streams that do absolutely nothing, dude. But for competitive, I think it has value.
I agree. I think in competitive, it is going to be the better ult right now. Unless Combustion does get a buff, it doesn't feel great. But Bunker, I think if he plays like a peeling, kind of disrupt the enemy's front line, and you put the bunker down, you know, hop in it, hop out it. If you're really good at using the bunker correctly, I think it does have a decent bit of potential.
That's cool. That's interesting. My first impressions were like, you know, casting it in front of the enemy fort wall or something and just watching it get evaporated in about 0.8 seconds. So obviously, since then, I've learned some more finesse with it, and it feels pretty interesting as an ability overall. But you think of a tank and you think of, you know, the snap control, the snap interaction. Yeah, there's a lot of benefits to the bunker. If you guys didn't know this, you can remove any stasis effect, any poison. You step into the bunker, you got Lunara poison on, you step out, that poison's gone. Say that there's a butcher charging, you step in, you step out, it's gone. Chrono loop, same deal. So it does actually purge and cleanse all you know, negative debuffs on you, which is definitely really compelling against certain heroes. That is definitely gives it a lot of merit as an ability, I feel. But yeah, I don't know if we're going to see a whole lot of Blaze in HCC, except bar for maybe a strange last pick situation versus a divey composition where you want some close quarters peels. Because he does have some cool talents, like, you know, what is it, level 13? I think he's got some really nice options. Suppressive fire, that's spell power reduction up to 30%. That's actually a really cool, like, you know, bring down their ability power damage. He's got the 40% auto attack slow against, like, you know, Butcher or an Illidan. Again, there's not a ton of cases where this is going to get crazy value, but that Butcher charges on your target, you throw that oil spill on with nanomachine coating, guess what? That Butcher's self-sustain is tied into his auto attack, everything. It's going to really... So that's more of like these are really nice for the Hero League. Obviously, pro play, like you guys said, Arthas will probably just do the job better, right? You know? And maybe Blizzard will find a way to change that. But I think he's dope as a hero.
Yeah, I like his kit a lot. I think it's pretty cool, but I think it just numbers right now. I think just buffing his raw numbers. Probably we'll see more play.
I've only played him against him a couple times. Haven't played as him yet, so I'm sure that I don't really have an accurate impression yet.
Do you think he's cute?
He's pretty cute, yeah.
He's hella cute.
Buff, spiky.
Well, yeah, I mean, if he's a Fel Reaver, he's hella spiky.
Hella spiky.
All right, well, that's Blaze, and I think we'll talk more about him when we see him play, right? We're not going to theorycraft about pro play for Blaze. Obviously, you're going to see him in your Hero League games as an off tank more often than a main tank. I like we were saying earlier, he doesn't really seem to excel at engaging a fight, right? He can, but I really think he's just going to be better in the follow-up. So... I don't, Dunk, have you been playing him at all, main tank Hero League? Have you had that experience? Like just solo tank?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've tried.
How's it going?
I've been generally underwhelmed. I think Bam Bam's having a little more success with him than I have, but he also mains tank, so it's to be expected. My experience with him has been like every time I played Blaze, I was like, oh, this thing I did was kind of cool, but I don't actually feel like I can decide the team fight no matter how well I play.
Right.
Which is a bad feeling. Like if you play an Arthas or an ETC, like there are things you can do in a team fight where you can just decide a team fight, or if you're playing Diablo, like you can just decide games sometimes. Yeah. And I really didn't feel that way as Blaze. I was like, oh, I popped bunker down, but like my team didn't get in it right, or they got in and stayed in it, and like, you know, I did cast all my spells, but you know, just not enough numbers, I guess.
Yeah, even when you like, if you get like say a 4-man charge with the stun, and you get the reset at level 16 for another charge, it still does not feel anywhere near as meaningful as, like you said, a Diablo that's going to get the charge, flip charge with devastating charge, pinning people into a wall. You just annihilate people, right? So, well, hopefully he gets some love. I think he's really cool. We're going to move on to talk about the Malfurion rework first, and I'll pull up the patch notes in just a second here, guys. But my first impression was I've been playing... Malf was the first hero I ever played at BlizzCon 2014, where Heroes was announced, and they really drastically changed what the gameplay experience is like. Whole new kit. Dunk, obviously, support player for a long time for C9 and everything. How do you feel about the new Malf?
I love the new Malf. I really like the playstyle. It feels like he actually has a kind of unique playstyle in the like rolling heal over times, like trying to keep them high uptime on your whole team, and then you actually get the healing value by hitting moonfires. Like that is a different playstyle than a lot of the other supports, and it's way more involved. Like Malf, to get good value, you have to press a lot of buttons, you have to hit a lot of skill shots, you have to pay a lot of attention. It's awesome, It's like completely opposite of something like Lucio, where you just kind of like run in a circle around your team and press one button for your heal. The only gripe I actually really have about New Mouth is there's no indicator to tell you how long each regrowth has left, which I find really frustrating. And I've actually completely stopped playing New Mouth because I find it so frustrating.
Right. The mental. Did I cast that 20 seconds ago? It just expired. Okay, here you go.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. Once that's changed, like once it gets like a Stukov-esque countdown timer on each person, I am gonna love that hero.
Yitbaus and Drated, how you feel about Malf?
I like the new Malf as well. I agree with Dunk a lot of the time. He feels really fun to play. Like, I like playing him. I like the style of hitting the Moonfires. It feels really rewarding to play. I agree. He does need an indicator. I'm not really sure. It's hard. I mean, you can't really keep track of like 20 seconds, man. It's pretty long. It definitely needs an indicator somewhere. I think he's probably a little bit worse overall than he was before, but maybe I'm just a noob mouth and can't hit my skill shots. I'm not really sure. But I like the direction they've been taking with supports, especially because last patch he didn't have a cleanse. Now he's got like a weird cleanse. He's got like his own cleanse.
A weird cleanse, an OP
like
cleanse. It's a whole team cleanse.
I'm not sure if it's better, but it's cool. You know, you can't pre-cleanse things like you could before. You have to do it like as they're stunned, which is kind of hard, if I'm going to be honest. But I like the direction they're taking. It makes support feel more involved.
They need to stop touching Malf.
Yeah.
They've touched him enough. He's abused.
Damn. I mean, I agree.
A lot.
I miss just being celestial
Take your hands off
DPS god.
Malf, right? I mean, leave him be, man. He was a wave clear master, and now he's just like a heal bot.
Well, after he was a wave clear master, he was a solo laner. You could moonburn build just solo lane someone.
Perfect. He had his place. Now he's just, I don't know. Twilight Dream is still the ult.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I agree with that. Dunk, is it still Twilight Dream or bust?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah.
It's too impactful. If you silence an entire enemy team, you win.
Yeah. I mean, I will agree that Tranquility, even with the armor, it just feels like a shitty sound barrier. It's like, yeah. We are back from, I don't know. We were talking about Malfurion, where basically, yeah, Twilight Dream still going to be the Bay. What I was going to say before Exploit rudely interrupted us is simply that I found that, when you're being a little bit more aggressive with your Moonfire, because there's no more Illusion's Grace, maybe Tranquility would be a desirable thing because you can cast Moonfire more frequently. But honestly, I feel if they're going to make Tranquility an interesting talent as it exists, it needs to default reduce the cooldown of Moonfire by a second or something. I think if they did something like that to like incentivize a little bit more aggressive play as Malfurion, where you then you can spam Moonfire a little bit more for more healing, that would probably make it an interesting heroic option. But baseline, it's not a massive AoE silence, right? It's not going to be as good. So Dunk, can you walk us through a build with Malf? Would you be down for that, and how you like to play the new Malfurion?
Sure.
I'm curious. Let me pull up Malf. All right. Malfizzle.
Maltheus.
All right, so just to clarify, this is not what I expect competitive to necessarily use, because I think there are some differences. Like the cleanse on 7 is actually valuable in competitive. In Hero League, it's basically always a trap, because you shouldn't expect your team to react appropriately to be getting cleansed, because they probably aren't expecting it because they're not used to playing with it. You probably don't have the awareness to use the cleanse effectively. That's just the reality. Like, it takes so much attention actually to play Malf effectively that I think like adding extra things to deal with is too much. So level 1, I just like the Q talent. I think it's fantastic. It's going to add a lot of mobility to Malf. It's really easy to underrate this talent, but you should basically be rolling 3 regrowths at all time. And then 4 post 16, basically, you'll always have 15 or 20% movement speed buff. And it's free mobility. People pick it on a Alex Straza with the worst condition, and it's a level 4 talent there. It's a level 1 talent here. It's insanely good.
Level 4?
Level 4, I think the best is just the increased root area and duration of the circle on the ground. It gives you a lot of zoning control. I can see an argument for reduce enemy healing if you ever encounter double healer, but that doesn't really happen anymore. And you can also pick Trent if you really want, but I just think the zone control is better. The Trent doesn't really do anything except sometimes like tank fort shots or whatever.
Could be the difference between stealing a boss or not. That Trent could get that last smack. You never know.
I've seen crazier things.
Level 7.
Level 7, so I was playing around a lot with Wild Growth, and it seems like a powerful talent, but I just wasn't feeling like I was actually getting that much value out of it, so I just switched to the increased root duration, because it's something I don't really have to worry about. It's like a passive effect. Every E is going to be better. I don't have to like try even more to focus on like how many moonfires I'm hitting and like count how many moonfires I hit with my regrowths to see how long they're going to like. It's just a disaster. Don't give yourself anything else to manage. Take the longer root talent.
Fair enough. We said Twilight Dream. Level 13,
Absolutely.
They tried to make it more interesting by moving Hindering from 7 to 13. Ice Block has always been at this tier, and then Revitalize also benefits the Malfurion.
Yeah, all three of these talents are actually really powerful. Hindering is fantastic. Revitalize is actually amazing because it completely fixes Malfurion's mana problems, which are very legitimate in this patch. Like, you're trying to roll regrowth on all your allies at all times. You're trying to cast Moonfire and cooldown for increased healing. You have serious mana problems. Revitalize completely solves all your mana problems. Pick Ice Block if the enemy team has a dive team that you're getting threatened by. Basically, is how it works.
16, all based around, healing and Moonfire.
Yeah, so this one is definitely the increased radius of Moonfire. That talent is bonkers. A lot of times this will be the difference between hitting like 1 and 2 targets with a Moonfire, or 2 and 3, which is a huge healing buff. Plus the 5 seconds extra duration means you can now roll regrowth on your whole team if you cast it perfectly on cooldown and very easily keep it up on 4 people and not really have to worry too much about it. So this talent is super good. Don't ever take Ysera's Gift, I think. It's horrible. The other Moonfire talent on this tier is okay, but I think it's not quite as good as the increased area one, because more often than not, the increased area is going to help you hit more targets with Moonfire, which is more healing boost than the other talent.
And again, just to extra clarify, if you hit 2 targets with a Moonfire, it's double the healing. So it's a lot. It gives them a ton of burst, especially when you got burst CC in a team fight. That's when you can see a Malfurion be truly beastly when you hit those multiple Moonfires. And
yeah,
it's
if
also
you hit a 3-man Moonfire,
it's insane.
Regrowth, it's insane healing, yeah.
And it's also going to make things like Nova clones, all of those type of things like Samurai clones, Nova clones, Mishas, easy targets, kind of bad against Malfurions, because these are free heroic targets for Malf to get healing off of that might be stacking up with other heroes and amplify that even further. So always take that into consideration, especially because the thing about the new Malf that I dislike the most is that if you're not in a team fight, your healing is garbo. Your actual contribution towards the boss is like, just, I'm going to scout, guys. I really can't heal you. I can't contribute with the damage. I'm going to just walk around and make sure no one's here, and I'll root them if they come in. That's pretty much what you do during a team, like a boss fight was Malfurion, and or unless it's a PvP boss fight. But yeah, that's cool. 20.
I really like the Moonfire talent here. The reduced cooldown adds up to a lot of effective healing increase. The damage is obviously nice too, but not as necessary. I've never really been a huge fan of Astral Communion. Sometimes it lets you make big plays, but I always felt like the travel distance on the blink was a little underwhelming relative to like the channel time.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying Astral Communion's bad. It's still a fine talent. Pick it if you want to be a playmaker, but I think in general you get more value on average out of the Moonfire talent, and Life Bloom is a really bad talent. It looks like it's insanely powerful, but it's really not. If you're a Malfurion and you're tasking Q on someone at 1% HP so they actually get, 10% of their max HP heal, like, they're still gonna die. Let's be real. You have no other burst healing to go with it. Like, that talent is super mediocre. you're not casting heals when someone's threatened. You're casting heals on your whole team beforehand, rolling the hots on them. So it's just completely different. And like Life Boom doesn't really do anything that Malfurion wants to be doing.
Agreed. All right, thanks for the run through on old Malfi. Now we got a new rework this week, which is Tyrael, and there are a few other things to talk about with the recent patches outside of just the hero reworks and such. Where are my Gundam skins? Tyrael, not only did he get the glorious Gundam skins, but he got the rework. First impressions, Drated. How do you feel about the new Tyrael?
I think he feels better overall. I'm still not sure if he's the main tank. I think he still, of course, has the issue of not having CC in the 4-man, which has always been one of his primary issues of being a main tank. But I really like the talent at 4 where you get the armor. I think it's something he's needed for a bit, even though he did have passive spell armor. He's always been kind of susceptible to burst, low health pool. I like that they buffed his health. I think overall he feels a little better. I haven't played around too much of him. He only came out like yesterday. I didn't even know that he was getting a rework until yesterday, basically. So haven't played around with him too much, but I like a lot of the talents. I like what they did with him so far.
I think if we look at Tyrael in his role in competitive in the past, he was really kind of a dive buddy, right? Tyrael was often picked, aligned with a gray main or something so that he could go in, help do big damage, drop that sanctification to guarantee efficient engagements and get the job done. With the new Tyrael and the way his talents work, I feel like overall his DPS is less, but his survivability is greater. Is that just me? Or would you agree, Dunk?
It definitely feels like if you're going the defensive talents, his DPS does feel lower for sure. I think the attack talents, if you actually spec into all of them, like once you get to 13, he feels like a pretty high damage output bruiser, but like the generic tank build won't have as much damage. I agree.
Yeah, boss, have you played him at all?
Yeah, I definitely like playing him more defensively, though. Staying alive and granting shields and diving deep and kind of like disrupting the fight more than doing damage, because I think that's more valuable in the long run, is keeping people's attention off of, your damage dealers, making them focus on you and then popping out of the fight randomly. So if you can stay alive and do all of that, I think it's pretty effective.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like one of those half support tanks, as far as I can tell, right? Because he's got some nice things. Like one thing I think you're talking about, Drated, is Stalwart Angel. The 25 armor he gets from keeping Eldrarunes out, and then after you cast Eldrarunes, you got 3 seconds. So it's basically 6 seconds of 25 armor. That's just armor, not physical armor, which is really nice. He's got the option for more shielding at level 1 with Justice for All. That's a bigger shield for your whole team. So say that you're rocking a Brightwing or a carry. This is more Hero League talk than HGC talk, guys, just for reference. But like say that you're rocking a Brightwing or a Carry Zeme or something and you want a little bit more burst sustain, and he's got to be your bruiser. Maybe that works out. But what I want to ask is, do you guys think he can solo lane? That's always been one of the things. You talk about your Sonyas, your Dahakas, these heroes, and Tyrael's always struggled with mana. They've reduced the mana cost on all of his abilities, and that's a big part of being a solo laner. How efficient are you in both health and mana sustain, and can you consistently contest not only your own globe or potentially bully your opponents off their globes in the 2018 update? Does this new Tyrael have a build that allows him to be viable in that role, in your opinion? We'll start with you, Drated.
No, I don't think so. I think on maps still like Braxis and D-Shire, where you're gonna have these long, drawn-out laning phases. I just don't think Tyrael brings enough wave clear. I think that's his main issue. He can't clear the wave as fast as some of these other heroes. Maybe his trading, his ability to trade got a little bit better. I haven't messed around with a lot of the talents. I know there's like a auto attack heals talent somewhere. But yeah, I think still that his main problem is the wave clear. He doesn't clear the wave fast enough. So I think, maybe on some maps like BOE, where the laning phase is not as important as controlling an objective like Braxis and D-Shire, I think he can maybe work. but still, I don't think he's going to match up to these other top-tier solo laners in the meta right now.
Dunk?
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, his solo laning potential is not there.
So, he's definitely an off-tank, right? His main tank Peel, he doesn't have any major stuns or knockbacks or control. He has Sanctification, which is, of course, great, but he doesn't have a kit with any kind of basic stun. He does have Bound by Law at level 4, which is a little bit more slow built into his queue, but that's nowhere near meaningful enough to make him a main tank, right? So where does it put him? Where would I draft Tyrael in Hero League where he is going to feel good? He's not my off-lane, second warrior like a Sonya. He's not my main tank. When do I play this hero?
I think you can put him in the 4-man sometimes, occasionally. Maybe if the enemy has less threat and you already have enough wave clear, he can anchor pretty decently. He's got the Q, he's got the movement speed. He can definitely chase things well. He's also good anti-dive. He's also good with dive. So, he's still kind of iffy sometimes for sure, but you can put him as the main tank sometimes in certain situations.
Definitely, if you're hyper mobile, hyper aggressive, you can have him as. I mean, if you're not really worried about your team dying, or if you have self-sustain, if you're going to match it with other sustaining heroes who can get away, who have escapes, who have movement abilities.
Next question I have for you guys is just the change they made to his auto attacks where he's always facing the target. I personally think it looks badass, especially with the Gundam skin. In fact, I've only ever played it with the Gundam skin. Does that feel weird to you guys at all with stutter stepping, since he's like focusing right, even though you might be going left?
Yeah, it definitely was a little bit weird.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong, but it feels a little weird. It almost feels like your move while attacking character because the animation continues playing as you're walking away.
Right.
It is interesting.
I think the quality of life on Smite no longer stopping your animation is huge. That's definitely a nice buff. When it comes to retreating, he's invaluable. Give that movement speed to your whole team, especially this level 7 talent, Swift Retribution. Like, you guys are just outie, right? The whole team's moving. Tyrael doesn't have to stop for that, half a second to cast the ability. He's got a lot of nice merit to him, obviously. In his kit, Holy Ground moved to level 13. How do you guys feel about the 13 talent tier? Because we've got the double cast of Sword of Justice, so your Eldruin's Might can be moved twice or cast twice. You've got Holy Ground, which is now 3 seconds instead of 4. Then you've got Law and Order, and it's basically Smite and Righteousness empower each other based on the effectiveness of each.
I think there's definitely a lot of playmaking potential with Sword of Justice. Especially like him being mobile already, and it's kind of like a second Zeratul type where you can just bounce back and forth and kind of disrupt what the enemies are thinking, where you're positioned, kind of get them off base.
Yeah, I actually think on maps that don't have bosses or like points where it's really important to cap, like if it's a map without bosses, then I think you might actually want one of the other talents instead of Holy Ground now.
I'm not sure. I don't know if I really see the effectiveness of Sword of Justice. He doesn't really do a lot of damage. I mean, he can... I don't know. I'm not sure I see the value over Holy Ground, especially because Holy Ground was probably picked 95% of the time. And game speed has gotten quicker, which is probably why they feel like they need to give him Holy Ground at 13, make him feel a little bit more effective. So I think you probably still pick Holy Ground most of the time.
And the last talent, if you're a bruiser, would you ever consider Law and Order if your team just really needs some more like effective DPS in your Smite? Would you ever consider that in a Smite build?
In Hero League, I think it's actually good.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool to hear that we have an option that actually competes with Holy Ground. Worse or not, it's 13-2 talent now. And I don't know if I've ever picked a non-Holy Ground talent material prior to this patch, to be honest with you. So, that's cool. Level 16. What do you guys think is the best here? We got the basic attacks from Eldruin's Might, cooldown reduction by 1.5 seconds. You've got basically the burning halo around. While Eldruin's Might is active, Tyrael is on fire. And you've got the Smite of the Wicked. While Eldruin's Might is active, 3 seconds after teleporting, Smite's cooldown recharges 100% faster. So it's more of a cast E build. Would you pair that with Law and Order and spam W and E? Is that an effective, efficient thing?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear on 16. You take the Q cooldown reduction if you took Holy Ground, and then you take the E cooldown reduction if you took the E talent at 13. Like,
Fair enough.
yeah.
Yep.
they just
Law and
multiply
Order.
the effectiveness of each other too much to ever do anything else.
Yeah. Well, that's cool that he's getting some build diversity. For sure. I think that's what they're aiming for with a lot of these reworks. Have heroes that are going to have a few different builds at least. And I think that is definitely true. A lot of these talent options are very appealing for different things. You know, shield your team, shield yourself, level 1, even into the E build or the control build with your Q at 13, 16. So naturally, we'll see what happens with Tyrael. This is not going to be active in probably at least the first 2 weeks of HCC, if I had to guess.
Might be week 2. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Not week 1 though.
Not week 1. Week 1, as Malf rework, that's the newest thing. No Blaze, no TL rework. Level 20 has some interesting talents. I mean, if we talk about the shield, the armor at Stalwart Angel at level 4, and then if you try to stack that with Defense of the Angels, Dunk, I was actually tuned into your stream, and you were saying, I would rather just have Hardened Shield 100% of the time because of this talent, even if my minions are all getting shields and taking damage.
Yeah,
And
I mean, like, when the enemy tank pops Hardened Shield, you just can't kill them.
Yeah, I mean,
It
Harden's
wastes all your
definitely
cooldowns.
one of the best abilities in the game for sure. So hard to beat it.
So, would I go Holy Arena or would I go Seal of Eldruin?
I mean, I think if you're in a Sanctification comp, you probably want Holy Arena for competitive. Like,
Yeah.
just realistically, that talent's pretty insane. Lets you do core all-ins, like, gives you way better team fight control. So that's probably the pick for competitive, I'd imagine. But I don't think the auto attack upgrade is anything to scoff at if you're like playing the bruiser role in Hero League or whatever and you just need more damage.
Maybe I'd have to play around with him a little more to see if the auto attack talent's good. I mean, 50% attack speed is a lot, so maybe if you can threaten the backline enough, could be pretty good. I'm not sure. I have to play with him more to find out. But Holy Arena has always been a fine talent. It's like middle of the road, I feel. It's like all right. It's really good if you're like all in core, and then you just pop the Holy Arena and you just like all in the core. It's pretty effective for the most part.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's interesting. Well, Tyrael, he's been reworked for like a day. So naturally, you know, the scientists will keep exploring. We'll keep getting the intel from you from either our own personal experiences or from other players and figure out where he lands. All we know for sure is we got our first ever Nexus announcer other than Muscle Man, Purple Muscle Man, and that's MechaStorm, which is dope because that is a thing that's only canon in the Nexus, the Gundam Tyrael, and we got a badass Gundam skin. Like, that's amazing. The rework seems fun. I'm excited to play Tyrael. I wasn't a big fan of him before the rework, so hopefully he's good. So we got to look at some more patch notes. There are other things, like there was a small Valera nerf that we didn't look at. Valera has been far less common in my games. I mean, it was funny because a lot of people initially are just saying, "Oh my God, they only put 2.25 seconds off the silence." It's still you know, a good amount, but they also nerfed hemorrhage and they nerfed crippling poison, which I think is all significant because I think it was the combination of all those things that made her such a beast. So Valera has definitely been taken down a notch. Samuro, didn't they just kind of like move his power? He got a little bit more HP, but a little bit less power and talents. Let me reread this. So he's more HP on him and his clones. And a little less damage. On Burning Blade. They tried to just rework his level 7. He's in a good position, though. Nothing major with Samuro. Nova, pretty similar to the Valeris category. Again, this patch was a few weeks ago, guys. So we're kind of like looking back. And Hanzo is now... He can jump across the map with a straight. Before, it was like his D was like the worst feeling thing in the world because I felt like it was very difficult to use. There were so many situations where I just felt like I couldn't cast it. Now Hanzo can get out of, it feels like, any situation. Where do you guys think Hanzo stands as a power level? Drated. We'll start with you.
Very strong. Probably you're gonna see a lot of Hanzo this weekend, I guarantee you. He's got, before he had one viable build basically, which is just the W at 7, reduce the cooldown. You could instant clear the boss. You could like one-shot merc camps. Pretty insane. And then they kind of gave him a new build with the new auto attack talent at 7 that reduces armor. So he's kind of got the best of both worlds now. Even if you don't need that boss camp, maybe you go for the auto attack speed at 1, and then the sharpened blades at 7. I think Hanzo is very strong right now. I don't think the buffs were needed. I think he did enough damage before, but he feels very good right now.
Do you want to just mention like the level 7, like Shield Breaker before? That talent felt insane if you were against like a Tassadar, but it was such a niche like counter pick in draft kind of thing where it's like, okay, well they just happen to have a Tassadar. I'm gonna grab Shield Breaker and do insane damage to anyone with a Tassadar shield. Now Sharpened Arrowheads just feels a little bit more baseline useful against like maybe anything, and it's like you said, it's really actually a nice compelling talent that's not just the best specialist in the game, right? Because he can merc faster than anyone with that W build, which I couldn't believe they didn't nerf, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's too strong. I definitely don't think it should be able to clear camps that fast, but I think we'll see a nerf in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I would imagine so. You guys, our chat is just hating on Tassadar right now, but he's still a hero. He'll still get played in HGC. Don't you worry. I'd be shocked if he didn't.
Are you saying you guys are going to play Hanzo against us on Sunday?
I'm not saying anything.
Okay.
Yep.
Making sure.
I'm not saying I have 75 games of Hanzo already. I'm not saying that.
All right. Not saying that. All right. So ban Hanzo.
He's writing his notes. So the last thing in terms of patch notes that we have to talk about is, again, this is a couple patches ago, since it's been a few weeks, they changed the globe value. So one thing that was a big change in the game when the 2018 gameplay update came out is people were saying the game is snowballier than ever. Objectives were doing too much damage, and losing your lane really felt super snowbally. So what they did is they just made globes do less, and I personally think it's had a good result at the end. They also made a bunch of changes to mercenary camps and their value while they're a merc and then while they're in lane. With all these tweaks to the Hellbats and the Knights and to the globes, ever since this is our first update today so this is the 2018 gameplay update 1.01, I guess we'll call it. How do you guys feel the game is now compared to before?
I can't speak to competitive, but for Hero League, the games are much more reasonable. Not nearly as many games are decided in the first 3 minutes now.
I feel the exact opposite. I feel like, it's like snowballs one way or the other. Games are way faster, so I see a lot more games ending within the first 15 minutes, 12 minutes. The more mistakes are punished way more effectively now.
I mean, are you talking about compared to before all the gameplay changes, or between gameplay changes that first came in and the seconds and like the tweaks they made? Because I think the tweaks did help, but the game is way more snowbally than it was before.
We're not talking about the 2018. We're talking 1.01 is what we're.
Okay, 1.01. So yeah, it's gotten better from Snowball
Okay.
City from wintertime.
So
I
this
guess
is
you
a
could
step
say.
forward. This is a step forward because the gameplay
Yeah.
update, I think everybody agreed the game felt pretty damn snowbally. Objectives were sometimes pushing to a keep. If you had a Sylvanas, it's just Omega Lol. And they gave the towers and keeps 33% more power, right?
Damage, yeah.
Yeah, 33% more DPS. Not more health, but more DPS. Is it enough? Yeah, boss?
Maybe not in Hero League. Hero League still feels pretty snowbally. Mistakes, I agree, are punished very hard. I think competitive though, I think it feels pretty good. I don't think games are as near snowball as they are in Hero League, especially because I think one of the main problems in Hero League right now is you got a couple good heroes that are good at doing camps. Grandma and Hanzo come to mind. So if your team is really good at doing these Merc camps, it can kind of feel pretty boring. The enemy team just goes around doing these camps, getting little advantages on the map. But I think the macro game has kind of stepped up a bit. I think teams are going to be looking at how to get the most value right now out of the camps. I think it feels pretty good. Maybe Hero League gets still a bit much. Maybe we need to see some hero nerfs personally, but I think the game feels all right.
I guess maybe I just watched my team scrim too much and I just get bodied left and right. So I just feel like it's way too snowbally when my team plays.
I mean, everyone definitely agrees that the game has felt that way since the 2018 gameplay update, for sure. But these changes are in the right direction, absolutely. And the game has felt a lot better. I will say this week versus weeks prior, the number of like 10 to 12 minute games is probably 1/5 of what it was prior to this, because I mean, I think I had a 6-minute, 30-minute game last week, right? Or something, and they happen. But should they happen? Probably not. And it's good to see them tweaking it in a pretty reserved manner, right? I didn't want to see them to just instantly bring back that auxiliary tower. I'm kind of glad they removed it, I'll be honest. Just maybe the keep needs to shoot twice. Maybe it needs 2 cannons on top of it or something stupid. I don't know. But I do like the bases having less clutter personally. But we're moving in the right direction with the gameplay changes, in my opinion. Do you guys agree? I mean, what's your overall opinion of the game now versus before the 2018 update?
Well, they nerfed double support. A lot of people didn't like to play with it, play against it. I think it feels a lot weaker now with the changes, so a lot of people are going to be pretty happy about that. I don't know if the Merc camp, the Bruiser camp, needed spell armor. I don't really know if that was necessary personally. I'd like to hear their insight on why they gave it spell armor, but it feels very strong now. After the most recent update where they nerfed the spell armor, it definitely feels weaker. So yeah. I'm glad they did that.
Well, 20 armor versus 30 is a pretty sizable difference.
Yep. But I still think the game has problems like Genji. I think Genji's been a problem for a long time, and I think it still continues to be a problem. And I don't know. I'd like to see some hero nerfs and some hero buffs. I'd like to see some I don't know. Just it feels like the pool of heroes that you can play right now is kind of small, personally.
I don't know. I actually think that the variety of heroes I've seen in scrims, I'm not gonna leak anything because our hero pools are just gigantic, right? So just watch out. But I've seen such a wide variety of heroes, trying to see what the meta is and trying to figure out what's the best on each of these maps because of all the changes. It's actually really interesting to see the diversity in what each team is developing their meta to be. And I'm actually really excited to see what you guys pull out, because I know that you guys have had some crazy pocket picks with Cho'Gall and whatnot in the past. So I'm kind of excited to see if that stuff surfaces and if you guys kind of bring out a flavor of your own to HGC.
I think you'll definitely see that we have our own style and we like to play our own game. You know, we have our heroes that we're comfortable with. I'm not going to say too much, you know, Cho'Gall, of course, but you know, you'll see. You'll see on Sunday.
So if you're listening to the MP3 and you keep hearing fairies in the wind, for whatever reason, our Patreon is now shouting out all patrons. I swear to God, I did not activate this. It just started doing it. But thanks to everyone that's ever pledged for our Patreon, because apparently it's going to go down the list and it's just going to keep going. So thanks, guys. We do have a Patreon at patreon.com/TownHallHeroes. Proper time to plug it. I never plug it enough, and the Patreon gods are yelling at me right now by doing this. So cool. Well, obviously we haven't really seen a whole lot of competitive heroes since the 2018 update, right? It's been the off season. HGC is the next thing on the menu. It's coming back this weekend. Boom! Your first game as Team 12 is against. My cat gets me out.
Young Drated
Come
here.
here, Nico. Come here. Young Drated. Come here, kitty.
Young
So
Drated friends.
I'll pull up the HGC website while we're here. But you excited? It's first seed versus 8th seed, obviously. A challenge, being the new contesters or the new contenders here, Drated. But before we get to that, we just gotta look at this picture of Dunk Train.
Oh, what the heck?
That is
That's
art.
good.
That is art right there. But I mean, this is sometimes the best way to do it.
Right. Who's that?
The guy on the right was Jade Martin, the game designer who made Blaze, essentially.
Okay.
So sick nerd baller. So naturally, I mean, the matchup going against the #1 seed, nothing to lose, right? You're going up against the best team. Just give it your best. Just go in guns blazing. Expectations, obviously, you guys are not the favorite, just based on seeding. And in a lot of ways, that's nice, right? I mean, sure, the pressure's on. They are the top-ranked team after 2017, but at the same time, it's just like, yo, let's do this. We've been dying for this opportunity, and I can't wait to see what you guys do. Naturally, we're not going to grill you guys on your drafts or the meta or anything, because that's going to be a surprise for everyone. Cho'Gall! You're talking about how they drafted an HGC Open Division Phase 1 Crucible. Not even Phase 2. They hardly played Cho'Gall in Phase 2.
Hey, you never know, okay? Cho'Gall is a do or die.
I'm just saying, like, every time I pull out Cho'Gall in Hero League, if someone just hovers Gall, never lost with it. Never. All right, watch out. It's coming.
There's no counters to Cho'Gall, by the way.
You just ban Ari?
No. Ariel's
You
not
win.
even, like, a hero anymore, though, to be fair.
Damn.
Pretty sad.
She's pretty monkagun. Like, she's pretty
Yeah. But no, I'm very excited about this weekend. You know, we're playing Team 12 Sunday, but we also play Space Station Friday. So I'm more looking forward to that match.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, after we go 2-0 on this weekend, you know, we're gonna become famous. You know, I'm ready for that. You know, nothing to lose.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
how you gotta look at it.
Going
Seriously.
in.
Go in.
Cheers to that one.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So, Singularity, aka Old Gods, right? That's their team name, Singularity?
Yeah. Oh, Simplicity.
Simplicity.
Wait, Singularity's way cooler, though.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Singularity Spike, they can all be Zeratul players. Feel so good about their life. Versus GFE. I'm actually, like, that's the headliner. That's the opening act of HGCNA. And I think that'll be a lot of fun. And then Space Station Old Gods, Tempo, Heroes Hearth, obviously the other new team joining the Pro League. They won their Crucible match versus Even in Death. If you missed the Crucible, if we have forgotten. And they have earned their spot, you know, featuring McIntyre, Crowan, and Arthalon, the old names from HGC, the new blood being BBJ and Ishbu. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then Team Freedom, and then, of course, Team 12 LFM, Team Freedom GFE. So, NA side, it's going to be great. We've already gone through a lot of our expectations. I would like to just talk to Yitbaus and Drated. Yitbaus, will start with you. In terms of where you think the power levels are of NA if you had to rank. Let's just do we'll do a top 4. We'll do a top 4. We'll make it easy for you.
All right. I mean, I'll do top 8.
Okay.
Top 2 I think is Team 12, Tempo Storm, or it's hard. Team 12, Tempo, and Freedom are all pretty close. I think that it's Team Freedom would be 3rd, Gale Force 4. Actually, Heroes Hearth 4 with Gale Force.
Ooh, spicy.
Space Station Old Gods are similar, and then LFM we have no idea because they're untested. So I can't. I mean, 8th because there's no comparison.
Yeah, we haven't scrimmed y'all at all. So
yeah, we haven't seen them. We actually didn't have any blocks scheduled. So
Heroes Hearth over GFE.
We also have not scheduled scrim GFE nearly as much as Heroes Hearth. So
that's respect, though.
Don't
That's
have
respect.
much to gauge.
Arthalon, 2 hours of practice, still made it. Unbelievable. No, that's interesting to me. It really is. And I'm excited. Somebody in chat said, is Roll20 Team 12? Yes. You guys are late on the news boat. But yes, Team 12 is the former Roll20 squad. Drated, rank them.
Team 12, number 1. 2, 3, probably Freedom and Tempo Storm. And 4, Heroes Hearth.
Wow. That makes me excited to have Heroes Hearth get that much respect the week going in to our first season matches. Now, one thing Bakery always likes to say on the show is there are teams that are strong week 1, and then there are teams that are strong week 5. Right? We're coming in after the offseason where the meta has had time to basically reset. The meta is now going to be able to define itself based on who's been doing what in scrims, what is the most effective thing, teams truly trying each other out and breaking out all their best strategies to show off what is the best. We've gone into many seasons where the best team at the start ends up being 7th place, right? It's happened, you know, and it could happen to anyone. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch it all evolve here. For EU, obviously, you know, we've talked about it on the show already. We're not going to go over it right now, but I think it's a pretty similar situation where we're looking at the top EU teams being Dignitas, showing off at GCWC as the #1 team in Europe. I think Fnatic expectations have gone down. Quacknick swapping roles. People are skeptical. They're putting Quack on Flex. They're putting Mene on the hyper carry, the hyper mage, and that's a big adjustment for Quack. And Quack being a key member of the team, we're going to have to wait and see how well that goes. But in Leftovers being the new blood coming in naturally, it's hard to judge where their power level stands, but we'll be finding out real soon if we look at the EU schedule. While we're on the topic of HGC, we do have to announce that Ballistics did re-sign their team, so they're not a one and done BlizzCon for 2017. Ballistics are re-signed for HGC 2018, at least for phase 1, so I think that's really good for Korea. And, you know, we've already looked at the schedule in the show like 5 times. Go to heroesofthestorm.com/esports. We don't have to talk about that again. But I'm pumped. I'm really glad HGC is finally back.
Yeah, now I can hibernate some more all weekend.
Traded.
Thanks.
Are you nervous, man?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe the first game could be some nerves, but
don't let your nerves get to you, man. Sunday,
I think
not
I'll
a
be
big
fine.
match. Don't worry. You got this.
Oh, it's not a big match. Why is that?
No, not a big match. You got this.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, obviously, Friday, make sure you're ready there. But, you know, that's the pro side of HGC and the bulk of what's happening for the teams. The other thing on the pro side is announcement came out regarding the casters for the HGC Pro League in 2018, and my old Open Division caster has abandoned me. JHow will be casting HEC NA for the entirety of the 2018 season, as far as I can tell. Basically, they announced that it'll start with JHow and Gillyweed for the first half, and then it will be JHow and Dreadnought. So Gilly and Dread are both, you know, flip-flopping for this season. And that's I mean, I'm super pumped for JHow. I think it's going to be really nice to just see some mix-up. Personally, I always like seeing different casting pairs. I always thought just the constant lock casting pair thing was kind of a weird idea. Maybe that's something that's used in traditional sports, but as a caster, I've always liked casting with a variety. But at the same time, you know, this is just something new and fresh. It will still be Trick and Kaldor for HGC EU, and that'll be really good. Now, don't get me wrong. We don't have to talk about this a lot. It makes sense to study one region and focus on that. It makes sense logistically. I just like seeing people mix up every once in a while, and that's why I'm excited about this. I do want to quickly look at Gilly and Dread's Twitter, because I want to say they tweeted something. So give me a second here. I should be prepared for this, but I'm not. Wade and I both have more engaging schedules this year, but are thankful for Blizz/Heroes worked with us so we can still be involved in HGC. So we'll just go with that. That's Gillyweed's tweet basically saying they've got other stuff going on. Pretty much. They've got their own plans, they've got stuff happening, and they're both going to be involved in HGC, but not necessarily full-time, which is why they're flip-flopping. And Gilly also made sure to squash the rumors that she's pregnant, and that's not the reason why she's not casting the second half of the year, because I guess Reddit was immediately assuming that that was the reason since it's halfway through. No. She confirmed that is not the case, guys. I know you're sad, but beyond that, we have Open Division. And Open Division, I'm proud to say that I'll be casting it myself. And this is for me kind of a win and a loss for, I mean, it's a win for Open Division, sad for me. But basically, Open Division will be on the Blizz Heroes channel. So obviously in 2017, this is something I could talk about for a while, but I'm not going to. I launched Arcane 8. I wanted to start an esports production company that would be sustainable, to have broadcasts all the time. And we have TownHall here, obviously, on the channel, and we had Open Division last year. But frankly, the reach wasn't where we needed to be. It wasn't. The viewership wasn't anything impressive, and the exposure wasn't what it should be for those up-and-coming players. So moving forward, the actual broadcast will move to the Blizz Heroes channel. That means you'll be able to watch Open Division and Pro League all on the same channel. That means that the HGC, or the HGC channel, the Blizz Heroes channel, will be live Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, most weeks of this year, which is actually just insane. That's 5 out of 7 days a week where you're going to be able to go into that channel. And the Heroes Hype, you guys are saying you thought it was Heroes Hype. Heroes Hype is taking Gosu Gamer's spot. So they're executing the events. They have probably writers, and I think they also have tournament admins that will be doing the execution, but they will not be. It will not be on their channel. It will be on the Blizz Heroes channel. And this is really amazing for the actual players, because again, this is a big deal for exposure for all those players. There's a lot of people that aren't as plugged into HGC as the viewers that we have here that are clearly tuning in to watch HGC or to watch this show and talk about HGC, that will then indirectly get exposed to Open Division by already being a follower of that channel. So that's going to be really nice. It'll all be, and the last thing that is new is I'm casting with Kala. You guys know TownHall Kala. We just had him on TownHall Heroes. He's going to be my co-caster for the 2018 season. And, you know, I'm actually really, really excited to work with him. It will still be Tetcher and Grubby and the EU side of things for Open Division. So I'm pumped. It's going to be really nice. People are asking about Arcane 8. Guys, you can tweet at me if you got other questions about Open Arcane 8. I'll respond to them on a separate time. I'm happy to answer any questions and concerns you guys might have about Arcane 8. We are over time. We're plus 2 hours in. These guys have been troopers. They've hung out with us all night. So we are going to transition to shout outs. And we'll start with you, Drated, man. Once again, congrats on being a pro gamer.
Thanks so much. Shout out to family, friends who've supported me through long journey. Shout out to the fans who are going to support us after we go 2-0 this weekend very easily. 6-0 in the match score, I assume. And, make sure to watch us succeed.
Dude, I'm excited.
Those are good.
Having to cast both your Crucibles and watch you get so close but not make it was devastating. So I'm so happy that you guys are finally getting that opportunity to play in the Pro League, and I'm really looking forward to watching the team evolve. Sincerely, good luck this weekend, and I cannot wait. Yitbaus, how's the Miller life?
Miller life has been retired. Retired that life. Not about that life.
I'm proud of you.
It's about this fireside life. Shout outs to Team 12 and this little anime girl that's crying. You should all make that your logo. It's great. If you guys aren't following us on Twitter, we're at Team12GG. Follow Justin, Buds, This Justing, Buds Hots, Goku_Hots, Cure_Hots, Hots Dansky, and then myself at Yitbaus. I don't stream, but Justin, Buds, and Cure are actually Cure's our #1 streamer. The other two are growing. They're they're up and comers, but they have a good vibe when you watch them. So check them out on Twitch. Yeah, that's all I got. Come watch us. Come watch us beat LFM on Sunday, 4 p.m. PST.
Damn. Well, obviously, we're looking forward to Team 12. The new branding with the TT cat is adorable, and you guys are the team to beat right now, coming in as the favorites. Lord, Dunk, when's your next stream?
Next stream will be tonight after TownHall. Thanks to Yitbaus and Drated. Thanks, guys, for coming on TownHall, hanging out with us, talking about the game. And best of luck to Bakery. Hope you get well soon, fam.
Everyone tweet at Bakery saying you love him and you miss him. It's going to be a fun HGC season. This was our last off-season show. Moving forward, TownHall Heroes, we're going to have some nice coverage of the actual weekly ongoings of HGC, including just a few breakdowns of some drafts, especially now that we've been a little bit away from the pro meta. We're going to be taking a look at that next week, kind of just looking into what there is happening within that realm and trying to break it down in a little bit more of a bite-sized format, because we know not everyone can watch everything, so we're going to do our best to recap some of that. Don't expect us to go into every single match. That's just not possible, but it's going to be a lot of fun to expand our coverage of HGC now that HGC 2018 is about to begin. Big shout out to Jay Howe. Jay Howe has been a good friend of mine for a long time, and he just got the pro casting gig with HGC Pro League, and I know it's a really big deal for him. Moved to California, got rid of his house in Florida, moved across the country with his kitty, and is basically starting a new life as a full-time Heroes caster. And the guy's been into sports his whole life. This is a dream come true for him. It really is, and I'm just sincerely so happy for him to be able to grab that opportunity and run with it. And it's going to be a lot of fun to just watch him in the studio with that. And of course, all the memes with Jay Howe being 10 times as tall as Gillyweed. That's just going to be, hopefully they don't overdo it, but it'll be good. It'll be good regardless. Heroes Hype, they're going to be running Open Division. Cannot wait to work with them. Make sure you follow Heroes Hype on Twitter, because there's a lot of talented people, passionate people in the community that are going to be running the Open Division this year. My good buddy Kala, we're going to be casting together for the Open Division in the NA side, and 2018 HGC, it's about to start this weekend, just around the corner. So guys, thanks for tuning into TownHall Heroes. Be sure to check out our Patreon if you want to support us. We're going to be getting some new, Yitbaus is lit right now. We're going to be getting some new backer rewards up there soon. GG's everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Welcome here to Town Hall Heroes.